poata, I have grown up in a tradition in which the concept of respecting and caring for animal life is second nature. Our iwi is the kaitiaki or guardians of the tuatara of Takapaurewa or Stevens Island. It is our humble duty and obligation to take every precaution necessary to care for and protect these incredible living fossils from harm. So the concept of introducing legislation to prevent the willful ill-treatment and neglect of animals is one which is consistent with my own tribal values and belief. I hasten to suggest that the sacred status of tuatara is not the only example of an animal being revered and respected by tangata whenua. In part of my tribal rohe on Rangitoto, otherwise known as Duval Island, the spotted brown kiwi occupies a special status as well. In another aspect of the significance of the animal kingdom for Te Ao Māori, kaitiaki manifest in animal form continue as living realities for whānau hapu and iwi. Such kaitiaki include the kiwi, kuri, ruru and tuatara. The paora, or whale, also features prominently as revered animals with hapu and iwi. The practice of whale riding, highlighted in the movie based on Witi Ihimaera's novel, was a common theme in Māori oral histories. The whale rider retells the traditions around Paikea, but there are other notable whale riders, including Te Tahi o Tarangi, an ancestor of the Mātātua tribes, and Tūnui, a tuhonga of Hawke's Bay, who was seen riding his pet whale, Ruamano, on his way to Cape Kidnappers. Our history is rich with stories of the great affection that Māori had for animals, including pet kaka, eels, shags. In fact, Kupe had a pet shag whose remains are seen today at Te Aumiti, or the narrow pass between the mainland and Rangitoto at French Pass. Kuri, the humble dog, were known as great companions even back to the days of the explorer Kupe. In other stories, horses are described as extraordinary, some describing them as taniwha or supernatural creatures. One chief from Tūhoi, Te Mai Taranui, describes these new beasts as kuri waha tangata, people carrying dogs. For Ngāti Porou, there is a particular strong association with what is commonly known as the Ngāti horses, those versatile horses who travel over stony grounds, water or bush without faltering. And of course with Ngāti Tūwharetoa, the association with the wild Kaimanawa horses is so powerful that there has even been a claim lodged with the Waitangi Tribunal to prevent them from being culled. Mr Speaker, I share some of these stories with the House as a way of setting the scene for the changes we are debating today to the Animal Welfare Act, and in particular the drive to increase the penalties for offences involving willful harm and reckless cruelty to animals. Knowing our history helps to provide us with guidance about how to consider issues such as the welfare of animals. While the recent media portrayal of this type of offending has demonstrated just how horrifying some of these incidents have been, it is always useful to have a broader context from which to respond. And what the history of Māori experience with animals tells us is that ill-treatment and neglect was not only unknown, but would be considered grossly inappropriate, which is why the Māori Party remains concerned about the use of 1080 to condemn possums to a truly cruel and painful death. How do we measure animal welfare? Why is it that pests are allowed to be treated in a different way to pets? But there's another aspect about the willful treatment of an animal which I feel duty-bound to bring to this House, and that is the known association between animal cruelty and human violence, which has been referred to previously. In 2002, a Child, Youth and Family Services supervisor in Otara, Brian Humphrey, conducted a 3-month sabbatical project resulting in the paper Child Welfare, Animal Welfare, a discussion document. In her project, Mrs Humphrey explored aspects of the animal welfare sector's relationship with child welfare in Auckland in cooperation with the Auckland SPCA. During the course of her study, she spoke with animal welfare trainers, managers and frontline staff and concluded there was much that child protection social workers could learn from animal welfare professionals working in the same communities and often in the same homes. In her conclusions, Ms Humphrey suggested that child protection social workers should include in their assessments of abusive and neglectful families consideration of family pets. The study demonstrates that the link between the treatment of pets and the children's attachments to animals often spoke volumes about the children and the family. In essence, children and young persons who were violent and cruel to animals needed immediate help. I think this is another really important dimension to the debate, as it makes explicit that people convicted of violent crimes are often also predisposed to the cruel treatment of animals. I think it is also worthy of comment to observe that there are successful models of child and animal welfare agency cooperation throughout the United States and the United Kingdom. Coming back more particularly then to this bill, the Māori Party supports the provisions to enable a court to disqualify a person from having custody of animals and to order forfeiture of animals to the Crown or to an approved organisation in the case of an offence being proven. We need to be able to demonstrate that the threshold of acceptance of any form of violence reflects the serious attitude we have to ill treatment and neglect. We must set the bar high, showing in our actions that we have no tolerance for violence or abuse of any kind. As an electorate MP, I know only too well the horrific levels of violence amongst our communities. As a Māori woman, I know that it is our women who are substantially overrepresented in women's refuge statistics. It is our women who receive higher levels of medical treatment for abuse and who experience more severe abuse than other groups of women. In fact, I have recently learnt that Māori women between 15 and 24 years of age are 7 times more likely to be hospitalised as a result of an assault than Pākehā women. This crisis of circumstance is one that must occupy all of our attention within the House, and I want to particularly acknowledge the work that my colleague Tariana Turia has been doing in the work with the Māori Reference Group on Family Violence. Their report on how to eliminate family violence within the whānau, E to Whānau Ora, is a wonderful resource that can help us to take actions to restore peace across our communities. But our attitude to violence across the wider community is also critical in stemming the tide, and this is why bills as this one are so critical. The Animal Welfare Amendment Bill provides us with an opportunity to understand the links between cruelty to animals and other types of violence. It establishes a threshold of behaviour which rejects the ill treatment and neglect of animals, and it creates a public standard which encourages us to act with compassion and with care to respect all forms of life, including that of animals. For all these reasons, we support the bill.
Colin King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.